Hello, hello, hello. It is Alex Berman. Let me play some rock music to get us all hyped up. Welcome to the live stream. This one is going to be quite the treat. We've got HarambeMoney in here. He is fully anonymous at the moment. At some point, he will be doxxed, but that's not. And we will be discussing how he raised $5.6 million for a company and the entire cold email system that we have put together so that anybody can use this, and people inside the group that we're keeping the system to have already raised millions of dollars. They're already in contact with people. So it's insane. The system that he came up with, the cold email scripts that he came up with, are next level. So let's sit here for a second. Let's get some more people on the stream. Let me know in the chat real quick if you can see me right, if you hear me okay, if I'm loud enough, etc. And then when I bring HarambeMoney in here, I just want everybody to be unbelievably hyped. I think that would be a dream come true, as if everybody was super hyped. Let me get a banner up here. Okay, raise. What am I gonna say? Raise money. Easily raise money for your startup. Easily raise money for your startup. Okay, venture. How you guys doing? Let me know in the comments. Let's talk. Let's talk. Can I get this banner going? Maybe I'll do the maybe I'll do that scroll across the bottom banner. Ooh. All right, we got some people in here. So, with that being said, comments are coming in. Yep, all good. Watching from the Philippines. Super cool to hear. With that being said, let's bring on HarambeMoney. This next guest has raised millions for crypto startups and other startups. He's now coached dozens of people to do the same inside of the Venture Made group. And me and him have a course together called Venture Made, which goes through how to easily raise money for startups and to teach us how to sell via cold email, how to raise money via cold email. Welcome, HarambeMoney. Harambe, what's up, dude?
Yo, what's up, bro?
Let's get hyped, dude. Go for it.
Let's get it, man. I love the intro, dude. I really liked it. Yeah, man. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny that I guess on Twitter I'm kind of known for this, kind of like raising capital thing. But the truth is, like, as you know, and honestly, every buyer in Venture Made knows, I wasn't necessarily brought in to that startup to do, capital raising or even get involved in that side of things. I was really brought in to help with influencer marketing, right? So the whole raising of capital in Web3, right? It can happen via, the use of influencers, right? In a private sale, and you can just do it like that. So that I set up kind of like the systems, which is very similar to your cold email university system for basically getting clients, right? It's just that it's been adjusted for kind of getting an offer going to get an influencer, kind of like yourself, right? To work with someone, right? You partner with them, you kind of share traffic and you share resources, and you can get a lot done without a lot of upfront investment. So they brought me in for that, and they were so happy with the results and the system that the founder kind of asked me. She said, like, "Oh, what if you use it for something else?" And I'm like, "What's that? Can you get us like actual investors to put, institutional investors, VCs, maybe that can help us, just get things going here faster, right?" And I said, "Look, I can give it a try. It shouldn't be that different than, selling a service, which I've done, and getting influencers. Let's do some testing." So I pretty much ran like a campaign, adjusted it a few times, and then 400 kind of leads later, they just landed their investor, who was going to essentially fund a great part of what they needed, and then find other investors, because that's kind of the thing. Once you find one, you kind of, and once they fund it, right, you kind of have access to now a little bit of a network of other investors, and after that, it's kind of beyond you, right? They can continuously raise. This wasn't a, just to be clear, this company had raised capital before for another company they had, but this project was completely unrelated to that. So they were starting basically fresh.
The system that you outlined. So let's break down kind of, because people are hopping on, they're new, they've got no context here, right? So Harambe raised a 5.6. The system that we're basically outlining here is it's a two-sided marketplace. You're identifying companies that need to raise money, and then you're identifying investors that need to invest the money. Then you're writing the perfect cold email pitch for the first company and sending it to those investors, right?
Exactly. That's exactly what I did. And the thing is that if you notice, all you're doing is you're basically just doing lead generation, right? You're building a lead generation agency, but you're focusing, instead of just focusing on an array of different niches and industries, you're focusing on getting investors, right? Now, we're going to talk about this a little later, but it can work in reverse too. So you can go to the investor first and then find companies for them. And we'll talk about that a little later, because that's honestly, it's the same as the flip side of the coin, basically, but it's the same thing. But yeah, you want to essentially find a company that it has some sort of traction, right? And the more traction they have, the more revenue they have to demonstrate, the easier it is going to be to get an investor to be interested in putting money in that company, particularly now, right? It's not a few months ago, particularly in the Web3 space, you could get away with something completely unreasonable and crazy that a lot of times just didn't make sense. But nowadays, you want to find like very solid companies. I would suggest going after SaaS companies that have very healthy MRR and they're growing at a decent pace, and you can kind of like easily find an investor to put money in. And then you kind of then you're gonna have to be very careful what you do next, right? But there's a lot of opportunities to do this, right? You're gonna find a lot of. It's basically going to a company and saying, "Do you want money?" Right? The product you're selling is money. So the reality is they're gonna say yes. I'll gladly work with you, right? And you could do a couple of things to get paid. My favorite one is to actually, if you can, obviously take some sort of fee at the beginning, right? So you can buy software and kind of keep everything running, and then take a massive bonus that you've laid out prior to doing the outreach. So it could be like $50,000 to $100,000, depending on the amount you're raising, right? And obviously, you're gonna have to wait until you get that round closes, right? And they can raise capital, and that could take anywhere between 3 to 5 months, right? If you do it that way, right? But the payouts, honestly, the one payout here, it's compared to like a regular lead gen agency, right? Where you're getting paid like $2 to $3 grand a month, and they churn every 3 months, right? You're gonna have to do less work. Let's just put it that way, you know?
Yeah, it's matchmaking. And the other big thing that I realized talking to you is the investors have to put their money somewhere. So they're on the lookout always for good deals.
They're always going
And
to be
then the
looking for good
startups,
deals.
it's harder to find the startups than it is to even find the investors and find the cash.
Exactly. And one of the things that when we created VentureMage, we were only focusing on kind of like, you're going to find a startup and they're going to quickly say yes to you. And most of our guys have already found the startups to say yes, right? And then the hard work is to go out and find investors. And well, the truth is, a lot of investors are also looking for startups. So like I said at the beginning, it's not just like companies looking for investors, it's also investors looking for companies. So it didn't take that long for us to realize that someone was going to come to us, and we were going to basically be able to, like, we already have investors just inside of VentureMage, right? Like that, they don't even have to go out and find investors. They can just partner with the group of investors we have, and now they just need to find companies, and that's it. Right? So it really is a two-sided market, and it sounds fancier on paper than what it is. It's fairly easy. It's just lead generation for investors, right?
Yeah, and it's all there and it's all straightforward. Do you have a doc or something? Like let's do some kind of visual. Gab says, "What's up, y'all? What up?" We're talking about how to raise money.
So I don't have the visual. I just have notes. But
Notes are good. Can you screen share some notes?
Screen share notes. They're kind of boring. I could probably paste them on the.
Let's screen share some boring notes.
All right, I'll share that with you right now.
Okay. I'm excited because this is a game changer. Every startup founder needs money, and every investor needs to park their money somewhere. So this is just jumping in between those. All
Yeah,
investors have trouble
yeah,
finding.
and you're gonna hear a lot of people say like, yeah, like I'm against like raising capital. I'm against like VC money. It's completely irrelevant. There's always gonna be someone who actually will raise the capital, right? They're gonna need the money. So it's almost like, yeah, if you don't really believe in it, it's completely irrelevant, as there's a market out there, that will gladly pay you money for this.
Let's go. Okay, so here's the chain of beliefs. So let's run through this chain of beliefs. What is this? What are we looking at right now?
So basically, this is like the this is the process that we both use to make the. Well, we made actually our presentation with this. This is like how we present to investors as well, like how to pitch them from the startup perspective. But it's also how I pretty much structure everything that I want to get when I want to get a point across. So if I want to convince someone, I usually start with an outcome at the bottom, right, which is raising capital for startups is the new big opportunity in lead gen, and is only attainable by taking our course, right? And then I will go backwards and say that in order to believe that one thing, what else do they have to believe? And it's honestly how you can build a very persuasive argument in general, right? So basically, once I had this, and this is like just to illustrate to you guys what the entire process is and why it doesn't make sense. You got to understand that startups need help raising capital, and to kind of prove that, about 40% of companies actually fail because they run out of money. So there's that, right? That belief has been knocked down, so we can move to the next one, right? And that's sort of like the pattern here and why I have those notes. And I mean, right now, when interest rates are higher than what they've been in the last 10 years, right? It is a lot more difficult to get money, but it also makes it a lot easier for you because you can just find companies that truly qualify for this money and truly are going to be a little bit more responsible, right? They have revenue. And if you do an outreach campaign to companies like SaaS or even agencies and sometimes can also, raise some money as well, you'll have an easy time finding like fairly conservative investors who just want to put their money in companies that are pretty healthy. So it's a little bit less chaotic to do it now than when it's all crazy and everyone's just handing money to a bunch of.
So let's go through it at a high level.
Yeah.
So what's the process here? How are we? What are we doing? What is Venture Mage? How are you raising money? What's this like? What's the opportunity? What's going on here?
So the first thing we have to do is we have to find a company that meets the parameters of being a healthy company. So that means they are growing. First of all, they're consistently growing. They have revenue, and hopefully they're profitable. They don't necessarily have to be profitable because, I mean, if you really think about it, you need money because you want to improve something, right? So it could be for a good investor, if you have a good argument that you're not profitable because you're missing something, right? But hopefully a profitable company. That's something that you're looking for, okay? And that's fairly easy to do. It's regular lead generation at this point. And at that point you have to build your own offer as basically a marketer who's going to help them find investors. But that's the first starting point. You need to find a healthy company that is growing, has revenue, and hopefully is profitable as well.
Keep it going. Let's just talk us through it. Let's go.
Yep. So once you have that, you need to basically turn that company's like whatever they're selling, whatever they're like, kind of like who the founders are, and just kind of mesh it together and create an offer. And that's going to be a lot of times going to be very new for a lot of these companies because they're used to just talking about their services and their technology and what they do, right? As a marketer, you're going to realize that everything must be turned into an offer if you want to get maximum response. And that's included when you reach out to investors. So you need to turn the company into an offer. You need to turn the founder's experience into an offer, right? And that's what we do here.
Talk through that a little bit. So what is that? What does that look like? What's an offer, and how's it different from a company? How does that?
Let me actually pull up exactly Venture Mage. I'm going to spoil it, and I'm just going to go exactly through the points we go through basically Venture Mage. So we have essentially inside of Venture Mage, we created this thing called the offer components, right? And they're really 5 questions that if you can get the founder to answer, you have yourself a pretty good offer. If you can't answer these questions, like I would suggest you go find another company. It's just not going to work. But if they're a healthy company, you've done your research right, these 5 questions will get you a pretty solid offer, right? So you need to know, like, who is it for? Like, who are they like selling to? And if it's everyone and everything, then it's, you're dealing with a kind of an amateur company and you don't want to work with them, right? So one example could be like they might specialize in going after life insurance companies, right? That's like just a random example, right? And the next question is, what is the solution? And the solution, one example could be like, okay, so I'm going after life insurance companies, and the solution is I want to get them more leads. That's an example of a solution, right? And then the next question is, what is the opportunity? And the opportunity is a little bit tricky because essentially it describes your unique mechanism, okay? But it's not your unique mechanism, and we're going to go over that in a second. So it describes your unique mechanism, and in this fake example, let's say it is you somehow have this technology. It's a dynamic database that finds when a couple has a new kid, right? And if a new family starts, right, and you have babies involved, chances are you might want life insurance, right? So you see, I'm making a cohesive example here. So it's like you're targeting life insurance companies, you help them get more leads, and the way or the opportunity by which you help them get leads is through this dynamic database of new families that you figured out, right? As your company, that's your technology, okay? So the opportunity describes the unique mechanism, but then the fourth question is, what is the unique mechanism? And it's simply the name, right? Like, is it a trademark thing or is it just something very, very generic? And honestly, this is the least important one because it could just be a name. But if it's trademark or there's a patent, that's even better. And for this example that we have here, let's call it the family finder, right? That's our trademark, right? That's our algorithm that we have for this company. Cool. So the last question is kind of like what the business model is, and that's simply what are the price and what are the terms, right? So is it a pay per lead model where you get basically a lead every time you have to pay, or is it a monthly subscription, or is it a one-time fee? Whatever the case, you have to take into consideration what what the pricing and terms are, right? And that's part of an offer, right? It also includes the risk reversal. So is there a particular risk that you yourself create, because of your own product, and how do you take care of that? That's really what a risk reversal strategy is, right? If you have, it's fixing the problems that your own service or solution creates. If you have one, you also include it here. And when you answer like these 5 questions basically, you kind of have enough ammunition to create this thing that we call the magic offer sentence, right? And people love this inside of the Discord for Venture Mage because they started using it for just other things, and the truth is it comes from basically my influencer marketing strategy, right? So it is used for other things, and I've seen a lot of guys use a similar kind of way to create an offer, but it's essentially the same model of like we helped an ideal prospect, right, get a solution through an opportunity without pain. Hopefully you can write that, Alex. And then the next sentence usually is that our unique mechanism has a given case study. And this is really important here because if you've noticed, the 5 questions from the top allow you to answer this sentence here. And if you can do this, and Alex, you're a veteran of cold email. What you have here is like the most important part of cold email, right? You have your offer and you have your case study. And this is really the foundation. Yeah, that's literally what it is. But it comes from these, five questions. And if you can answer this, if you can answer those 5 questions and form this sentence, you have yourself a good company that you can go do lead generation for and find investors. Now, when I was doing the lead generation process for the company, and what I've seen with some of the students as well, is that sometimes, investors, particularly in the technology space, are not just interested in like, okay, I get the solution, I get that it works, I see the case study, but why? They also want to see who's running the company, right? Like how are you relevant to the company as a founder, right? What experiences do you bring? And that's kind of like another component that we have on Venture Matrix. It's like creating an origin story, right? And it's nothing too fancy. It's not like you're not writing an autobiography here. It's just, again, answering 3 questions that will help make an origin story. And the 3 questions or components are, you need an accomplishment, and that's usually, I put in curly braces here, the who, right? You need the experience or the how, and then you need the pivot or relevance. So how did you, with this accomplishment and experience, decide to go after this new thing that you call yourself, this company that you're running? What led you to come up with this, right? And it's usually a function, or it's just related to your accomplishment and your experience, right? And I can give an example of how that works, because we break it down inside of Venture Matrix. We kind of break it down exactly what you need to do, so like step by step. But I'm kind of like free balling it here.
I think it's good to free ball it. Let's give it a little generic here, because like you said, this is all inside Venture Mage, broken down step by step in the easiest possible way. Are you guys hyped? Let me know in the chat. This seems like gold to me, right? This seems like solid gold that should be in a paid course, and Harambe is giving it to us for free. So are you guys excited? Let me know in the chat if you want him to keep talking, or should we just end the stream right now?
So just shut up and not give everything away.
All right, Aaron Lupp's into it. We can keep going.
Yeah. So really, the origin story, and let's stick with the same example of the life insurance, because it's the one I wrote down, because I think it's very easy to conceptually see it. But let's go to the top, right? Accomplishment, the who, right? Let's assume I'm the founder of this company, and I used to be a VP of sales for some fancy life insurance company, and I was there for 10 years and saw firsthand how hard it is to access leads in the life insurance niche, right? And how every time I found like a new opportunity, it would lead to massive increases in revenue, just because I was able to like figure new things, how to get new leads for life insurance. So I'm just a veteran. I was high up in this firm, right? I spent 10 years. So that's who I am. That's my accomplishment, right? And my experience, and like, so how is like, I was a top performer for over 10 years there. And I was a top performer because I developed a system that guarantees the fastest leads in the industry, and kind of kept it a secret to myself. And that's how, I became the top guy there. So that answers the first 2, right? And this is where it gets kind of cool. So the pivot or relevance, the why, it's that once we put this process, right, into code, so we kind of created a software here, we realized we had the opportunity to get the same results I got for 10 years straight, but only this time it takes minutes, right? So you see, like, that is why my company was created in the first place. I was this guy, the VP of sales for this fancy insurance firm for 10 years, top performer, and because I invented something, and then I just had to put that process to code, and that's how it happened. Fairly quick, right? This is just like showing them who you are. It's just building interest, and when you put that together with your offer that you already have here, well, you've kind of equipped the founder to get a lot of meetings with investors.
Okay, so we have an offer. We've turned the company to an offer, and then we have the backstory, and we stick it together. And then what are we doing once we have that written out? By the way, this is revolutionary. The way that he's broken it down like this, I've never seen this anywhere before, and honestly, we should not be sharing it publicly.
Yeah, it's again like we went into detail, like great detail in VentureMage because of HarambeMoney. We really had to like get it into a system that worked, and again, this is a derivative of an extensive service and influencer marketing system, right? That was adjusted for investors, and it just worked. And the idea here is that you're kind of equipped to build an email. So Alex, you think we should build it? Like, should we just put it together?
I think we can talk about it, but if you guys want to actually write the email, you want us to walk you through how to do it for your business and see the exact examples in practice, you got to join VentureMage for that stuff.
Yeah.
Andrew Cherry's taking screenshots, right? Let's make it a little harder for you. If you just hop in VentureMage, you can see the exact emails.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just scraping the surface. Like anyone inside of VentureMage, I hope they can come in from like the group so they can tell you this is like literally the most basic of the basic components there. But
Brandon, same with this doc. You can have this doc as a bonus once you join VentureMage, and it comes with access. I'll play the whole VSL in a second, but it comes with access to a group, private group, but also an event. Me and Harambe are gonna go either crazy in Vegas or Miami or New York. We haven't decided yet.
Yeah, but it's gonna happen.
We sell 188 more. That's all we need. Then we'll go freaking insane. Yeah. Spend almost all of it on the event itself.
Probably. Focus on companies that have focus.
Focus on companies that have focused clients. Uber started in only luxury rides at first, and Amazon started with only ebooks. Yeah, exactly. The more clear they are with their value, the easier it'll be to find their customers, and the easier it'll be to scale.
And let's what percentage of companies funding? What percentage of a company is receiving funding?
What is the percentage of a I think he's asking what's the so how are you doing the take? So like let's say you raise $1 million, how are you doing that on the end?
Okay. So you have several ways of monetizing this, and it's really up to you and really up to how you want to structure it, right? When I did it, all I asked was for a signing bonus, which was written in contract. We provide the contract to people that buy VentureMage basically, but it is a marketing agreement because you don't want to be tied up in any regard or any shape or form with being an investment banker, right? It is illegal to do that. What you want to do, you don't want to take absolutely no percentages, right? You take a fee that is fixed in contract, and then you also put a bonus that is fixed in contract before you even start working, right? And you can base it off milestones. So you can say, look, I'm going to help you raise $5 million, and I want, $100,000. Now, if you raise less than that, obviously they can stipulate in the contract that you get less money. But if you raise 10 million, you're still getting $100,000, right? The bankers, they can take a percentage, so they're more encouraged to raise as they go as high as they can, right? And they always take a success fee. That's what it's called. We don't take success fee. We didn't take success fee. So what ended up happening is that we do have a partner now inside of VentureMage, and if you are to do lead generation with them, they have their licenses and everything in check, so they will give you a bonus that is tied to percentage. Now, if you go alone and you decide to go after, companies if you decide to just go after startups and you help them find the investors yourself, then you can't take a percentage. Now, if you just supply this firm with startups, or companies that are looking to raise, and then then you can take a percentage, and they'll actually pay you for the lead as well. They'll pay it up to 1,500 per lead, right? Which is actually, I mean, I honestly have done lead generation before, and it's hard to get like over 500 if you're really good. So that's what happens when you deal with people with money, right? They're willing to pay because the deal size is just so much bigger.
And they would pay, and some would even pay more if they're bigger.
Some would pay more. Yeah, some would pay more.
Because you'd think the myth is that these investors are just getting hounded nonstop with deals, but the reality is the deals they're getting hounded with are all terrible. So there's always a demand for people with great deals, and they're willing so much so that they're willing to pay for them.
And this is like the thing I've noticed. Almost everyone that does lead generation on Twitter is so much better at lead generation than like the average probably salesperson at a bank, right? So like the truth is, if you guys are much better than a lot of the people working for them, so they'll happily pay you just to bring them deals, right? And we've managed to secure a joint venture with one for people that join VentureMage because they're trusting us to provide them with trained people, right? So that's why you kind of go through us because they've won through it. They actually checked our program. They saw everything, right? They vetted our backgrounds, and they're like, yes, lead generation is not it's not actually closing the sale, is generating the leads for someone who's going to close the deal, basically. And
what we're talking about is it's getting really into that lead generation process, like finding the actual deals, talking to those people, booking the meetings, setting it all up. And that's all legwork that normally they assign to interns and low-level people. So those people that are being assigned that work are very low skill typically. So by being an expert at that, now all of a sudden you're like the top deal finder for them if you do this correctly.
Yep. And also they kind of don't want you finding these deals on your own. To be honest, right? There's a, and I've heard it, like there is a thing that about crowding the market, right? So there's a few people that are doing it, not in this industry, but are doing it in the mergers and acquisitions, right? A lot of marketers teaching people basically a templatized version of how to do it themselves, and they're not very happy with people just crowding their market. So if you can work with them, then they're willing to pay a lot of money. That's really what it is, right? And you can do both. You can do it yourself as well. Like you can find your own startups, go find investors on your own. But that's gonna have the highest payout. It's gonna take a little longer, right? But you're gonna have the highest payout. And in the meantime, you could just be generating leads, practicing for the firm, and making money. So it's like you got nowhere to lose. Basically, you're making money both ways.
So that's epic. Do you guys have any more questions for Harambe while he's here? How do you know how much the company raises if you aren't particularly on the pitching call?
So part of VentureMage, if you go the route of getting the company and train and kind of like finding investors for them, you train them on how to pitch. So I have an entire process inside of VentureMage to come up with basically a presentation that can get the founder to not screwed up and go to the next stage. Now you can go on the meetings with them and just be like a consultant that you'll be basically ghost shadowing the founder. You'll be just like another person who works there, right? That will know who you are. But I went on several calls to help make sure the founder didn't like screw it up, because sometimes they do, right? A lot of founders are very technical people, right? Like even if they take the role of CEO, a lot of times what they do is build, right? they're usually engineers or along those lines, right? So we do have a process for you to train them, but the idea is that you won't close the investors for them.
Okay, let's take a couple more questions. Then I want to show you something. What is the average sales cycle from lead to conversion?
Now there's two answers to this, right? If you are yourself finding a startup or a company and then finding the investors for them, if you don't charge them a retainer or take a onboarding fee, it's going to take 3 to 4 months before you get that potential massive payout of like an investor, because there's due diligence involved. We got to, it's not like they're going to be like, oh yeah, your company's great. I'll believe you. I'll give you money, right? The investors will actually need to find out, right? Now, if you partner with a private equity firm, like we have in VentureMage as well, which is the other way of doing this, what will happen is that the private equity firm has their own fees, and they'll give you a percentage of those fees as soon as they close. So it's like a normal sales cycle there. So it might take like, maybe like a month to close that or less. And then you kind of chill and wait until they do their job, because they have networks of like 90,000 investors, right? So they'll go raise the money, and it'll take 3 to 4 months. You already got paid on the fee, and now you get paid at the end a bonus. Could be as high as $25,000 or more. Yep.
It all depends on the level of the raise, right? And then if they find you, if they get you, if they know that you're someone who's finding these deals consistently, you could eventually end up getting a percentage or doing all this other stuff.
Yep.
It just comes down to your relationship with the person, whether they're willing to be the investment banker for you, et cetera. Like there's a lot of hurdles you might have to jump through legally, but that is something you could do eventually.
Yeah, and again, if you partner with a firm, like we have people in VentureMage doing now, they're applying to do so. Honestly, if you can partner with them, you can do whatever you want, because now you by default you now have access to all their licenses, and as long as you generate leads for them, you can take whatever you want.
Exactly. And once you're in there, you really want to start getting a percentage of the fee, because if you raise $1 million, you get 10% of that's $100K. It's a lot of money. It could add up really quick, and the deals get larger. Like, somebody just announced they raised 150 mil. Imagine you helped somebody raise $150 million, and you got even 1% of that or 5% of that. That's a $1.5 million payday right there.
And it's just a matter of you doing your job as a lead generation expert and finding the right company, right? And if you can do that for a firm, like a private equity firm, and get them that deal, they'll happily fund it, and they'll happily split, the commission they'll get with you, because that's how it usually works. They'll split the commission, and there's a lot of opportunity there.
So let's do 2 more questions. Okay, just ask, how long does it take to build trust with founders and venture capital firms?
Founders, you'll build trust in like a second. Like literally, there's people in VentureMage already with founders, and it took them like 2 weeks to get it. Venture capital firms don't trust anyone; they trust numbers. So they'll like if they like your pitch, then the next step is fairly quickly. It's to look at the numbers, to look at the actual, they'll do their due diligence. I am usually not part of that process. I am that's where the founder and their accountants and everyone else just have to do their job of providing the necessary information. You're kind of chilling at that point until that goes through, and then you get your money, your bonus.
Average payout per deal?
I would say it depends on how much money you help them raise, but if you let me answer it in 2 parts again. So if you just take a percentage, you can make like 30 to 40K on a good deal. If you partner with a private equity firm and collect leads, you can get anywhere between $1,000 to $2,000 per basically companies that close into their fee. So that's like a lead basically that converts to them, and then you get a bonus at the end tied to their commission. So that's basically 2 ways you can get paid.
Great. So it could be anywhere from like 5K, 10K, 150K.
Yeah.
Like
you might get like 5K at the beginning, like 1 to 2K at the beginning per lead, like a normal lead generation process, right? But then that bonus is going to be tied to the successful raise, right? And that's going to take some time.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do now. I'm going to play this video for you. Feel free to ask some more questions in the chat, and then when we come back, we're going to answer those questions. So let's go through, and I will show you this epic video right now. Let's go. Everyone who says that bootstrapping is better than raising capital is wrong. They just don't know how to raise it. I'm about to show you how we raised $5 million in 4 weeks for a brand new startup with no connections and made $150,000 in the process. This simple 3-step method helped us collect a 6-figure payday by helping a startup raise $5.5 million in 6 weeks by just sending a few messages a day. Now anyone can make a full-time living by applying our exact plug-and-play methods to help startups raise capital. Why is that? Well, it's because startups need help raising capital. Running a business is simple in theory if you really break it down. There's only 3 components. 1, you have marketing to attract new customers towards your product or service. You have sales to be able to exchange their hard-earned cash for your product or service. And ultimately, you need to be able to fulfill the promise through your product or service. These 3 components are simple enough to learn. Market it, sell it, and build it. And if you have some profit left to continue this process, congrats, you're in business. So why isn't everyone rushing to become an entrepreneur if it's that simple? Well, you see, there's a bit of a problem for most entrepreneurs. Let's get back to the 3 components. Marketing. In order to do a successful marketing campaign, you need traffic, also known as eyeballs. This isn't free. You need to be either willing to pay for ads, pay for an influencer to shout you out, or build an audience over time. And time is money. Then you have sales. If you can sell, that's fantastic. You're an asset for your own business. But what happens when you fill your own calendar with meetings? You become capped. You can't grow any further, which means you need to invest money into hiring others. And if you can't sell, you need to hire from the beginning. Then you have fulfillment. You could be fulfilling yourself if you're a freelancer, but then who's selling for you? Can you do both? Can you grow a multi-million-dollar business while doing the sales and the fulfillment? Chances are the answer is no. You will need to hire additional people in order to grow your business. You might say, I don't sell a service, I sell a product. Great. How are you going to improve it, build features, and support your existing customers? The problem is very clear when you do the math. You need money in order to scale a business. But don't worry, there's a few ways to get this money. In fact, you'll learn in a few minutes how you can use one of these ways to make top dollars yourself. So here are the ways entrepreneurs fund their businesses. 1 is bootstrapping. The founder funds it themselves using their hard-earned money. The problem here is clear. You will risk a lot, and if you don't have a lot of money to start with, you're limited by the size of your bank account. The next one is friends, family, and fools. This one is funny. Collect small investments from friends and family or anyone foolish enough to risk their money, or at least that's how the joke goes. Risks, broken relationships if things don't pan out. Then you have debt. You get to keep 100% ownership of your company with this one, but what happens when the interest starts to add up? Plus, banks hate lending money to startups. Then you have angel investors and venture capital, the VCs. These are my favorite for a couple of reasons. 1, they invest in exchange for equity, which means that they'll own a piece of the company. That makes them have skin in the game, so they'll happily share resources beyond money with the founder. And 2, they can invest a lot and bring others who will invest even more. In fact, we recently reached out ourselves to VCs and managed to raise 7 figures for a project in the idea phase in just 6 weeks. It's super easy to get investors to respond if you know what you're doing. There's an opportunity to help them raise capital. And the best part about this is not that you can do this for your own company to raise capital. Startups are so desperate for this knowledge that they'll gladly pay you 6 figures to help them raise capital. 9 out of 10 startups will fail. According to a 2021 CB Insights report, there are 12 reasons why startups fail. But check this out. Almost 40% of startups never even get a chance to market or get outcompeted by similar products. They just run out of cash and have to close their doors. There are 31.7 million small and medium-sized businesses in the United States, and 38% of them can't raise capital. But why is that? It really boils down to a silly reason. Raising capital from VCs is just like selling a product or service to a prospect. It involves marketing and sales. However, you need to know a very specific style of selling for investors to pour money into a startup. But it's actually pretty easy once you know what you're doing. In fact, we were able to do it with just an email, a notepad, and Zoom. The best part? We automated it all. This process is also riskless because we got the startup to cover the cost of the software we needed to make this investor machine work. FYI, the entire cost was less than $50 a month, and we raised 7 figures for the startup. And startups will happily pay you $50,000 plus per deal closed if you can help them raise money. And I know you might be wondering, it must be difficult to get investors to pour millions into a company. You need to know rich people or be born rich to have that kind of access. The answer is no. Investors want to invest. In fact, they need to. They're constantly competing with other investors to get a hold of a winning company. In fact, investors are a commodity, not a luxury item. If they don't invest the money they have, it will just rot away because of inflation, or they'll have to settle for mediocre returns. And that's not an option for them. So people with our investor prospecting method can make a ton of money by ethically standing in the middle of startups and investors. Startups need the cash, and investors need to move the cash. It's a win-win situation. The process is super easy to follow as well. Have you ever sent an email to someone you know? If you can do that, you can also do this. Have you ever typed something special on a birthday card for someone? If you can do that, then you can also do this. There's 3 stages to this process. One is intelligence building, finding who are the right investors for your startup client. Then we have outreach, writing effective outreach messaging that will have them booking calls with you all day and developing the right pitch to get them to send the term sheet right after the call. And then there's agency, which shows you how to turn this skill into a business that allows you to bring 6 to 7 figures with just 5 to 10 clients. This part covers how to get startup clients as well. These are the exact same strategies that we use to book meetings with Fortune 500 clients for our agency X27. We've generated over $100 million of leads, and now we're using it to raise capital for startups. By now, you should really be confident that helping startups raise capital is a heck of an opportunity. The best part, very few people are doing this. Right now, people are letting investment banks keep all the money because they think you need some kind of banking permit to do this. With our method, we also teach people how to do this without needing any sort of banking or brokerage license. All you need is an email, a notepad, and Zoom. That being said, if you're going to help startups raise capital, you need to be careful. There are certain laws in place that prevent the average Joe from partaking in this profit feast. However, if you know how to maneuver these regulations, you'll quickly realize that there's a loophole. Hundreds of people are capitalizing on this loophole to facilitate deals between investors and startups. We call this loophole becoming a deal flow consultant, and it allows people to legally and ethically charge for the service of raising capital for a startup. We're opening up a new implementation program that will help people like you navigate the process of becoming a deal flow consultant. As an added benefit, you'll learn how to raise capital, meaning in the future, when you sit on the other side of the table as a startup founder, you can do this for yourself. So here's what comes with this implementation program. You're going to get the Venture Mage course, which is a $1,497 value, where we teach you how to raise money step by step using this 7-figure proven process. Then, as a bonus, you get our entire implementation templates along with Zapier automations so that you can run this process in minutes with 0 effort. Plus, you get weekly group coaching where we can talk you through this entire process step by step by step. You also get access to a private Discord community where we'll answer your questions in real time. Plus, as another bonus, you get all of our legal documents, which is a $3,478 value. I'm talking closing docs, contracts, etc., everything you need to implement this yourself. Plus, we'll provide a list of investors for easy access so you can just pick this up and get going right now. And as a bonus, we're going to give you Cold Email University, which right now sells for $200 a month. And you're going to get that for free lifetime access as part of this deal. That'll show you how to easily master the skill of cold email and scale it beyond your wildest dreams. The best part about becoming a deal flow consultant and raising capital as a service is how easy it is to get startups to agree to your service. In the implementation program, we'll show you who to target, how to negotiate your deal to make it extremely painless for startups to work with you, and we'll give you the entire done-for-you process to get them results. If someone went to you and said they could get you 6 to 7 figures in funding to scale your business, and on top of that, there's 0 risk for you as a consultant or the startup, it would be very hard to say no. At the end of the day, you're helping grow their business with 0 downside. The best part for you as a consultant, or even if you're trying to raise capital for yourself, the deal flow process is fully automated, and we really mean it. Getting investors, getting startups, the exact scripts to convince them to work with you, the entire fulfillment process is automated. We even use artificial intelligence to remove every single manual process. We'll share everything, no holding back. Unlike opening a social media marketing agency, SEO agency, or email marketing service, helping startups raise capital requires 0 employees and not a lot of clients to make 7 figures, and it has a fully automated fulfillment system. Before we let you go, we also like to mention the swag that comes from being in the capital market space. Selling shoelaces via your Shopify store can make you a ton of money, but it definitely won't make you more interesting at parties. What do you do for a living? You help companies raise millions of dollars. What are you waiting for? Join the Venture Mage revolution and become a deal flow consultant now. Now's the time to join. Click that button and I'll see you inside. All right.
Let's
There
go.
we go. Let's frickin' go. So let's do a Q&A. Andrew Cherry saying, what traffic sources are you using to generate leads? All of our traffic sources are listed inside of Venture Mage, bro. You're going to be able to get access to everything. Like we said, no holding back. Just ask, do you have to tailor the companies you bring to a VC that fits their portfolio?
Absolutely. It's basic lead generation, right? You got to get your targeting right. If the investor has invested in Web3 companies, then that investor will probably want more Web3 companies. It's even with SaaS, right? SaaS is a very, very broad category. What kind of vertical are we talking about, right? Is it fintech? Is
exactly
it
right?
Marketing tech, right? So you
I like
have
the
to find
swag
those,
perk. 100%. Okay, you're You've honored Harambe with this presentation. Harambe has honored us with this presentation. All right, guys, head on over to venturemage.com. I think we need 188 more sales before we do this crazy event, whether it's gambling in Vegas, a yacht party in Miami, or something crazy in New York that we have yet to announce or decide. One of those three is going to happen.
It's going to be crazy, that's for sure.
In order to get a ticket, you're going to have to be one of the first 200. So there's 188 left. With that being said, if the page is up, that counter's live. So if you're watching this recording, it's still live. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody, for attending, and we'll see you later.
Peace.